Imagine, if you will, a Tuesday night in Dublin.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. It's raining, because of course it is, and somebody's just waiting for a bus.
Yeah.
They have their headphones on, they pull out their phone, they open up iTunes, and they buy a single digital track.
Just one track.
Just one. Or, picture this. It's 3 in the morning in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, complete opposite vibe.
Exactly. The city is quiet, the desert air is cooling down, and someone is scrolling through their phone in bed looking for, like, the perfect song to help them sleep. And they click purchase on this beautifully melancholic ballad.
Right.
Now, in the grand scheme of global music sales, one person buying one song for about $1 seems, well, entirely insignificant, right? It's literally a drop in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, usually that wouldn't even register on a spreadsheet.
But here's the wild part. Because the total volume of digital track purchases on iTunes in those specific local markets is so incredibly low in the year 2026 that single solitary purchase acts like a structural beam.
Oh, wow.
It takes this song and pins it to a static rank on the national charts.
For weeks.
That is just wild to think about.
One person, one click, and suddenly an algorithm just freezes, locking that song in place for the entire country to see day after day. It is a completely bizarre, wonderfully accidental anomaly of global digital music consumption. Welcome to the future _music deep dive.
I love that opening so much because it really is the ultimate butterfly effect in the modern digital landscape.
It really is.
It's like we spend our entire professional lives obsessing over massive streaming farms, right? Algorithmic manipulation and these multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns deployed by huge corporate behemoths.
Oh, absolutely. The huge manufactured rollouts.
Yeah, and then right in the middle of all that heavily engineered data, you have these beautiful organic glitches where a single listener essentially holds a national chart hostage just by clicking a button in their bedroom.
Which is so funny. And that is the exact phenomenon we are dissecting today.
For this deep dive, we are focusing on one highly specific, massive, and frankly, anomalous data footprint. We are looking at the explosive iTunes performance of Gwyn Dorado's K-drama original soundtrack.
The OST, yeah.
Right, her OST, Losing My Heart, which she recorded for the television show My Royal Nemesis.
Such a good track, by the way.
Oh, it's gorgeous. And over the past month, this track has generated data behaviors that are completely upending conventional wisdom across the whole music industry.
It really is tearing up the playbook.
But more importantly, what we want to do today is connect the dots between this raw global data and her realistic chances at the upcoming 2026 K-Drama Awards.
Which is where the friction really lies, I think. Because we are examining a collision of two entirely different paradigms here.
How do you mean?
Well, on one side, you have hard, cold, globally distributed digital data, right?
Oh, right, the raw numbers.
Exactly. But on the other side, you have the highly subjective, intensely domestic, prestige-driven world of South Korean television award ceremonies.
Oh, yeah. That's a totally different beast.
It is. Bridging that gap between international data and domestic prestige is, well, it's the hardest thing to do in entertainment right now.
It really is. And to map out that bridge, we are pulling from two primary sources today.
Yes, let's get into the sources.
First, we have a comprehensive 2026 K-Drama Awards OST landscape analysis. This breaks down the political and artistic realities of the upcoming award season.
Which is fascinating on its own.
Super fascinating. And second, we have an internal document. It's a highly detailed Nexus report that audited the exact iTunes trend data for Losing My Heart from May 30th to July 3rd, 2026.
That report is basically our Bible for this deep dive.
So if you are listening to this and you work in digital marketing or music strategy, or, if you just obsess over how cultural phenomena are manufactured, this data should completely change how you view your own key performance indicators.
Oh, 100%. It's a masterclass.
We are going to look under the hood of a global hit and figure out how digital footprints actually translate into physical hardware on an awards stage.
And honestly, the Nexus report is arguably the most vital piece of documentation we have for understanding the modern life cycle of a soundtrack.
It really strips away all the fluff, doesn't it?
It totally does. It strips away the PR narratives, the social media posturing, and the domestic television ratings. It leaves us with just the undeniable, raw geographic footprint of the music itself.
Right. So before we even touch on red carpets or voting committees or award trophies, we have to establish the physical reality of what Losing My Heart achieved on the charts over the past month.
let's do it. Let's look at the numbers.
The Nexus report doesn't just, generally say the song was popular. It actually quantifies it across 1,658 individual data snapshots.
Which is an enormous amount of polling.
It's massive.
It really is. Those 1,658 snapshots were taken across 13 different countries over a span of 34 days.
Okay, so that's a pretty wide net.
A very wide net. And the methodology here is what makes it so compelling. The analysis divides the concept of success into two distinct metrics.
Okay, break those down for me.
You've got penetration and retention.
Penetration and retention. Got it.
Right. So penetration is the peak rank. It basically answers the question, how high did the song climb on the ladder at its absolute zenith?
Did it hit number 1? Number 10?
Exactly. Did it crack the top 40? It's the flashy vanity metric.
Right, the number you blast out on a press release or, put on a Times Square billboard to prove you were relevant?
Yes, exactly. But the second metric, retention, is what the industry actually uses to forecast long-term revenue.
Because retention is chart duration, right?
You got it. How long did the song maintain its position before the algorithm deemed it irrelevant and dropped it off the board?
So it's basically stamina.
Yes. It measures the difference between a song that artificially spikes to number 5 for a single afternoon, usually because of a coordinated, hyper-aggressive fan campaign.
Which happens all the time.
All the time. Versus a song that hovels at, say, number 50 for 2 months because human beings are actually integrating it into their daily lives.
Okay, so let me push back on that dichotomy for a second.
You better go for it.
Because the Nexus report highlights Hong Kong as the anchor market for this entire global campaign.
Yes, the Hong Kong data is crucial.
But here's the thing. In Hong Kong, Losing My Heart only peaked at number 41.
Right.
It never cracked the top 40. It was nowhere near the top 10.
Nope, not even close.
So if I am the marketing director at the label pushing my royal nemesis, why on earth should I care about a number 41 rank?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Right, because a number 1 peak gets you on the front page of Apple Music. It gets you media headlines, which translates to brand deals and wider algorithmic playlisting.
You're not wrong about the perks of a number 1.
So how does sitting invisibly at number 41 actually pay the bills or build a career?
Okay, let's unpack this, because it is the most common trap in modern music marketing.
Chasing the spike.
Exactly, chasing the spike at the expense of the foundation. Think of the algorithm like a credit score system.
Oh, that's an interesting way to frame it.
Right. So the algorithm does not actually care if you randomly deposit $10,000 into your bank account one single time.
Which would be the viral spike.
Yes. The system views that as an anomaly, potentially even suspicious activity, depending on how fast it happens.
Wow, okay.
What the algorithm, and by extension the long-term financial health of an artist, actually cares about is that you pay your $50 water bill on time every single month for 36 months straight.
Oh, I see.
Hong Kong is Gwyn Dorado's algorithmic credit score.
Because of the retention data we were just talking about.
Precisely. Even though it only peaked at 41, Hong Kong generated 473 individual data snapshots in this report.
Wait, 473 out of the 1,600 total?
Yes. That means Losing My Heart charted continuously without dropping off a single time for 34 straight days.
Okay, so the system is looking at that and realizing this is not a fluke.
Exactly. It tells the system that this track has utility. A 34-day streak implies that the song has become part of a daily routine.
Like, you have people waking up, making their breakfast, and putting this specific ballad on before they commute.
Yes. A viral spike to number 3 that vanishes in 48 hours is a sugar rush. The platform knows users will forget it by next week.
But a 34-day run at number 41 is a structural foundation.
It means the listener base is loyal, they are returning, and they are passively consuming the artist's catalog day in and day out.
Okay, the credit score analogy clarifies that perfectly. If you're listening, think about how algorithms reward consistency over chaos.
Always. Consistency is king.
But that actually brings us back to the most chaotic part of this entire report.
The static charts.
Yes, the static charts in the low-volume markets. If Hong Kong is the reliable credit score, what on earth is happening in Ireland and Saudi Arabia?
This is my favorite part of the data.
Because the report explicitly notes that in Saudi Arabia, the song generated 70 chart entries.
Right.
And for every single one of them, it sat exactly at rank number 83.
Didn't budge once.
It never moved to 82. It never dropped to 84. And in Ireland, it had 49 entries, frozen completely at rank number 155.
It's just wild.
Walk me through the actual digital mechanics of how a chart just stops moving. Like, how does that even happen?
Well, to understand this, you really have to look at the architecture of the iTunes platform in 2026.
Okay.
Which is entirely overshadowed by streaming giants, right? Like Spotify, Apple Music's own streaming tier, and YouTube.
Yeah, almost the entire global population streams their music now.
Exactly. The act of actually purchasing a digital download, like paying $1 to own the MP3 file on your hard drive, is an incredibly niche behavior today.
And especially in specific regional markets.
Right. However, the legacy iTunes chart infrastructure still exists, and it is still entirely automated.
Which means the threshold to enter the chart in a country where nobody buys digital tracks anymore is almost zero.
It is practically microscopic. Let's hypothesize for a second.
Kind of lay it out.
Let's say that in Ireland, during a specific week, the total national volume of digital track purchases across all genres is maybe 300 songs.
Just 300 for the whole country.
Yeah. Now, if a single user in Dublin buys Losing My Heart, that one transaction hits the Apple database.
Right.
The algorithm calculates the velocity of sales. It sees that this track now has one more sale than the millions of other tracks sitting at 0 sales for that week.
So it assigns it a rank based on that one sale.
Exactly. It slots it in at number 155.
Yeah, because nobody else in the entire country is buying anything in that specific popularity tier, the system basically has no new data to force a recalculation.
That's it. The algorithm operates on comparative data. If no other track in the Irish digital storefront registers a sale, that would theoretically bump Losing My Heart down to 156.
Right.
And if no second person buys the track to bump it up to 154, the math simply freezes.
It creates this bizarre digital amber.
Digital amber, I love that phrase.
Yes.
The song will just sit at 155 for weeks, completely static.
Until the overarching system eventually flushes the aging data, or a new local purchase finally disrupts the stasis.
Exactly. It's a brilliant illustration of how global infrastructure is utterly dependent on hyper-local human behavior.
Just one person's late-night purchase creates a month-long monument on a national chart, just because the surrounding digital space was completely empty.
It's kind of poetic, honestly.
It really is.
Hmm.
But, Gwyn has the data.
Hmm.
And we need to look at where she actually generated the massive numbers.
Right, moving past the static anomalies.
Because if Hong Kong was the credit score that kept the foundation solid, and Ireland was the weird algorithmic anomaly, Southeast Asia was the undisputed growth engine.
Oh, Southeast Asia is the core narrative of this Nexus report, without a doubt.
It really is.
This region is where the track achieved its highest penetration, completely dominating the regional ecosystem.
Proving that Losing My Heart had massive active appeal beyond just passive retention.
Yes, the numbers here are just staggering.
They really are. I mean, let's look at Singapore. It peaked at number 6.
Number 6.
To break the top 10 in a highly connected, trend-setting, financially lucrative market like Singapore, that is a massive validator for any artist.
Let alone a K-drama OST.
Exactly. And it generated 259 chart appearances in late June alone in that country.
Incredible volume.
We also see Vietnam peaking at 20, Malaysia at 21, and the Philippines at 26.
So she's blanketing the whole region.
But what fascinates me here is the timeline. I'm looking at this data, and it is not a simultaneous global hit.
And that is the most crucial observation in the entire document.
Right. It did not drop on May 23rd and magically chart in all these countries on May 24th.
No, not at all.
When you map it chronologically, it moves like a staggered rolling wave across the map.
The report specifically segments this geographic movement into 3 distinct waves of market adoption.
Okay, let's break down the waves. Wave 1 triggers when?
Wave 1 triggers in early June. This is where Vietnam ignites the charts, hitting that peak of 20.
And fascinatingly, Colombia also spikes in this first wave, hitting a peak of 81.
Right, Colombia. So they act as the absolute really adopters. Then there is a distinct pause.
A lull in the data.
Exactly. It is not until a week or two later, in mid-June, that we see Wave 2.
And where does it go in Wave 2?
The momentum geographically shifts. We see Malaysia hitting 21, Taiwan reaching 65, and Indonesia peaking at 56.
And then finally, the massive late-stage surge.
Yeah.
Wave 3 hits in late June.
Right, bringing in the Singapore top 10 peak and the Philippines hitting 26.
So the implication here is that this is not a centralized push from a corporate office in Seoul.
Oh, definitely not.
Because if this were a traditional top-down marketing campaign, you would see uniform saturation.
You'd buy ads across the entire Southeast Asian bloc simultaneously.
Exactly. The staggered delay, wave 1, a lull, wave 2, a lull, wave 3. It looks exactly like the epidemiology of a virus.
It is social contagion.
Right.
What's fascinating here is that it's localized, organic word of mouth occurring at an algorithmic level.
And the question the industry is frantically trying to answer right now is, what actually acts as the bridge between these waves?
Right. How does it jump from Vietnam to Malaysia a week later?
Okay, I have a theory on this, and I want you to validate or destroy it.
Let's hear it.
I don't think it is the streaming platform's back-end algorithm deciding to push it from Vietnam to Malaysia.
Okay, so not an internal Apple or Spotify push.
No. I think it is the intersection of user behavior and short-form video borders.
Ah, okay, I see where you're going.
Say a specific TikTok trend, using the emotional chorus of Losing My Heart, goes viral in Vietnam during Wave 1.
Right, someone uses the audio for a sad video.
Exactly. Now, TikTok's algorithm operates heavily on regional clusters, but it has porous borders.
Yes, it tests its adjacent regions.
So it takes about a week of heavy saturation in Vietnam before the algorithm starts testing that specific audio on the For You pages of users in neighboring geographic clusters.
Like Malaysia and Taiwan.
Right. And when those users engage with it, they create their own localized content, which sparks Wave 2 on iTunes. And then the cycle repeats for Wave 3 in Singapore.
That hypothesis aligns perfectly with current data consumption models.
You think so?
Oh, definitely. It is a hybrid reaction. The initial spark is organic human emotion, right? Someone in Vietnam connects with the melancholic tone of the ballad and uses it to soundtrack a video.
A real human connection.
Yes. But the transmission of that spark across national borders is entirely facilitated by the delayed testing phases of short-form video algorithms.
That is just incredible.
It really proves that a K-drama soundtrack is no longer tethered to the broadcast schedule of the television show.
Right. The song is traveling completely independently of the drama's distribution.
It's living its own life.
Which brings us to the fundamental problem of this entire deep dive.
The awards.
Yes. Gwyn Dorado has the data. She has the 34-day retention in Hong Kong. She has the top 10 peak in Singapore. She has sequential algorithmic waves rolling across Southeast Asia.
She's killing it on paper.
By any modern metric, this is a massive, undeniable hit. But, and here's the huge but, data does not win South Korean prestige awards.
It really doesn't.
An iTunes chart in Malaysia does not hand you a physical trophy in Seoul.
Nope.
So how does she bridge the gap between international digital dominance and domestic critical acclaim?
That is the ultimate gauntlet. And it requires a deep understanding of who actually votes in these ceremonies and, what they value.
Okay, let's look at the timeline for a second.
Right. Because Losing My Heart was released on May 23rd, 2026. It falls into a very specific eligibility window.
Which targets what, exactly?
It is targeting the late 2026 music shows, specifically the MAMA Awards for Best OST.
Okay, MAMA.
And then looking ahead to the early 2027 drama circuits, which means the Baeksang Arts Awards and the Blue Dragon Series Awards.
And those three institutions evaluate success in radically different ways.
Extremely different.
Let's start with Baeksang, because Baeksang is the gold standard. It is the Emmys, the Oscars, and the Tonys of South Korea rolled into one.
I've always gotten the impression that the Baeksang Committee doesn't care if you have 1 billion streams on Spotify if the song itself is, fundamentally shallow.
They absolutely do not care about your streams.
Not at all.
Not at all. The Baeksang voting body is comprised of seasoned critics, veteran directors, and industry purists.
Okay, so they're looking for art.
Yes. They evaluate artistic merit, compositional complexity, and most importantly, narrative integration.
How well it fits the show.
Exactly. They want to know if the music elevated the television medium to the realm of high art. They are looking for the prestige factor.
So the iTunes data is practically useless for Baeksang.
Pretty much.
But what about Blue Dragon? Because they recently changed their entire structure, didn't they?
They did. In 2025, the Blue Dragon Series Awards recognized that the landscape of television was changing due to global streaming platforms. Right, Netflix, Disney+, all of that.
Exactly. So they introduced an OST Popularity Award.
Oh, well.
This was a massive paradigm shift. It was an acknowledgement that fan engagement, international reach, and raw commercial success are vital components of a show's legacy.
Okay, so this is where the Nexus report becomes a weapon.
Yes.
For a popularity award, you don't just submit the song to the committee. You submit the Singapore Top 10 peak. You submit the Hong Kong retention data.
Exactly. You hit them with the global footprint. And this is also where Gwyn Dorado's personal narrative becomes an overwhelming asset.
Right, because she is the first Filipino singer to lead a major K-drama OST for a show as big as My Royal Nemesis.
Which is huge. When you are lobbying for a popularity award, you are selling a story.
You're selling the narrative of a global phenomenon.
Right. The story of a groundbreaking, cross-cultural artist generating massive, verifiable data across multiple foreign markets.
That is incredibly compelling to a committee looking to highlight global engagement.
It's exactly what they want to see.
But we have to look at the historical benchmark to understand the physical reality of what she is competing against at a show like Mama.
Yes, let's talk about Mama.
The landscape analysis points directly to the 2025 Mama Best OST winner.
The song Golden.
Right, from the animated film K-pop Demon Hunters.
Such a massive track.
It was. But when I look at that winner, I see a massive structural problem for Gwyn.
Oh, the sonic scale is completely mismatched.
Completely. Mama puts television dramas and cinematic film soundtracks into the exact same category.
Which is always a wild choice to me.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Golden was designed by audio engineers to be played at a movie theater with a massive Dolby surround sound system.
Right, it's huge.
It is high-octane, aggressive, and incredibly polished. Losing My Heart, on the other hand, is a quiet, emotional, lyrical ballad.
Very stripped down.
Yes. It was composed by Park Sung-il with lyrics by Seo Dong-sung. It is designed for intimacy, for watching a show alone on your laptop in the dark.
Right.
How does a quiet ballad possibly beat a cinematic orchestra in a voting room?
Well, it cannot compete on volume, so it has to compete on resonance.
Okay, resonance.
Mama has historically favored big, expensive-sounding productions because the award show itself is a massive stadium spectacle.
Right, they want performances that look good on a huge stage.
They like songs that fill arenas. For a ballad to win, it has to deliver an emotional gut punch so severe that the voters simply cannot ignore it.
It has to make them feel something deep.
It has to pierce through the bombast with pure, undeniable clarity. It is the classic dynamic of the solitary vocalist silencing a crowded room.
That's a great way to put it. But before she can even attempt to silence the room at Mama, she has to survive friendly fire.
The internal competition, it's brutal.
It really is. I am looking at the My Royal Nemesis track list, and the internal competition is fierce. Award shows do not nominate entire soundtrack albums, right?
No, they nominate one, maybe two standout tracks per show.
And Gwyn is part 3 of the soundtrack, which means 2 artists established the musical identity of the show before she even arrived.
The sequence of release is critical in how a domestic audience imprints on a soundtrack.
Okay, let's walk through it.
So, part 1 was released on May 8th, perfectly synced with the drama's premiere. That track is Anyway by Namjoon.
Okay, so Namjoon has the first mover advantage.
Precisely. Anyway acts as the auditory thesis statement for the entire series.
Right, it sets the tone.
It plays during the pilot episode when millions of viewers are tuning in for the first time, establishing the mood.
And the landscape analysis already notes that Anyway is pulling the lion's share of general viewer attention domestically.
Yes. So Namjoon is the baseline threat.
But then we have part 2, released on May 16th.
Ah, yes. Season of Us by Day 6's Young K.
Now, we are not just talking about a good song. We are talking about serious, mobilized, domestic fandom infrastructure.
Young K has massive pull.
Huge. The landscape analysis explicitly states that Season of Us is dominating domestic fan forums like Reddit and local Korean community boards.
They are treating it as the definitive anthem of the drama.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
The editing bay.
Exactly. This brings us to the mechanics of drama editing, which is the invisible hand that dictates domestic award nominations.
It really is. When a music director for a K-drama is sitting in the editing bay, they have immense power over the cultural memory of the audience.
They decide which song plays during a climax of the episode.
Right.
Let's paint a picture here for the listeners. Imagine the quintessential K-drama scene. It's episode 8. The male lead is standing in the pouring rain, finally confessing his feelings after hours of slow burn tension.
Classic. We've all seen it.
The audience is on the edge of their seats. At that exact second, the audio director hits play.
Yep.
If they choose to play Young K's Season of Us, during that kiss in the rain, they are essentially hardwiring that specific melody to the dopamine and the tears of the domestic viewing audience.
It creates a literal Pavlovian response.
Yes.
And you have to remember who sits on these domestic award committees.
Right. They aren't robots.
No. They are broadcasting executives, local critics, and television professionals who live in Seoul. They experience the drama exactly like the local audience does.
So they feel that exact same Pavlovian response.
They do.
So even if Gwyn Dorado has a 34-day retention streak in Hong Kong and is causing algorithmic tsunamis in Singapore and the Philippines,
Yeah.
if the local Korean committee felt a deeper emotional connection to Young K because his song was edited into the best scene of the series, they are going to nominate Young K.
Exactly. It is a war between the domestic narrative and the global footprint.
That is so tough.
The committee has to decide whether they reward the song that made 1 million Korean viewers cry on a Tuesday night, or the song that dominated the iTunes charts across Southeast Asia.
And historically, which one usually wins out?
Historically, domestic emotional resonance has the upper hand in securing that initial nomination slot.
Wow.
For Losing My Heart to Beat Its Own Siblings, the global data has to be so overwhelmingly massive that ignoring it would make the committee look out of touch with international trends.
It is exhausting just thinking about it.
It's a massive uphill battle.
She has to beat Namjoong's premiere advantage. She has to beat Young K's domestic fandom and editing placement just to get the nomination.
Just for a seat at the table.
But let's assume she does it. Let's assume the narrative of the first Filipino OST lead, combined with the Singapore top 10, is just too big for the committee to ignore.
Okay, let's assume she gets the nod.
If she gets the nomination, she steps out of the frying pan and directly into the path of the absolute Goliath of the 2026 season.
And this Goliath is a masterclass in corporate synergy and aggressive market monopolization.
We're talking about the OST for the drama Perfect Crown.
Oh, Perfect Crown.
A joint Disney Plus and NBC production starring IU and Baeon Woo-sik.
It literally does not get bigger than that cast in the year 2026.
It's massive. It is the television event of the year.
And Kakao Entertainment, who is handling the music production, is fully aware of the leverage they have.
The landscape analysis details Kakao's strategy, and it is a fascinating look at how a conglomerate builds an impenetrable wall around an award category.
They didn't just hire 1 or 2 popular singers.
No, they constructed a highly diversified multi-million-dollar A-list arsenal designed to suffocate the competition.
We need to break down the mechanics of this roster because it explains how modern charts are effectively bought and paid for through influence.
Okay, let's look at part 1 of the Perfect Crown soundtrack.
Kakao opens their campaign with BB. The track is My Pace, released back in April to build early hype.
VB is an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah.
She brings the edgy, authentic, critical, darling energy.
And the song itself is highly strategic.
How so?
Well, My Pace is an anthemic track about living at your own speed and rejecting predetermined destiny. It perfectly encapsulates the thematic core of the drama.
Right.
But more importantly, it is highly modular for short-form video.
TikTok bait.
Exactly. Kakao heavily subsidized the push on TikTok and Instagram Reels. They ensured the audio was placed in the hands of major influencers, guaranteeing deep cultural penetration before the drama even aired its 3rd episode.
So they locked down the edgy anthem demographic and the short-form virality right out of the gate.
Yep.
What is their next move?
Part 2 is Go On by Kiki.
Kiki, right.
Kiki is a rapidly rising Gen Z soloist. This marks their first ever drama OST, which generates its own specific news cycle.
Right, it's an event in itself.
It brings fresh, youthful energy and anchors the contemporary pop side of the soundtrack, appealing directly to the younger, highly active streaming demographic.
Okay, so they had the anthem, they had the Gen Z pop. But that is just the appetizer.
Oh, yeah.
Parts 3 and 4 are where Kakao brings out the heavy artillery to fundamentally rig the streaming numbers.
This is where they activate the idol industrial complex.
Yes. Part 3 is No Doubt by BOYNEXTDOOR, and Part 4 is Behind the Shine by RIIZE.
2 of the most dominant top-tier boy groups currently operating in the industry.
Placing them both on the same soundtrack is almost unfair.
It really is.
Let's talk about the mechanics of how this guarantees an award nomination. Because when you hire RIIZE, you aren't just hiring a song.
No, you are hiring a paramilitary organization of fans.
You are hiring guaranteed, highly organized labor.
Boy group fandoms do not stream music passively. They operate in highly coordinated strike teams.
Right. Like when RIIZE drops Behind the Shine, The fan bases mobilize on platforms like Discord and Twitter.
They create massive streaming guides.
They utilize VPNs to bypass regional locks.
They set up dedicated streaming parties where thousands of fans loop the song on Spotify and Apple Music 24 hours a day.
Baeksang is explicitly using these idol groups to guarantee that Perfect Crown will dominate the raw streaming metrics.
Metrics that are required to auto-qualify for any popularity award shortlist?
It is a brute force data attack.
It is.
But wait, Gwyn Dorado is singing an emotional, melancholic ballad? She isn't competing in the upbeat pop lane with BOYNEXTDOOR? Surely she has a chance in the ballad category.
Well, Kakao anticipated that too.
Of course they did.
They built a dedicated ballad wing into the Perfect Crown strategy to cover all their bases.
Corporate synergy leaves absolutely no stone unturned.
Never. They recruited So Subin for a track called My Favorite Part, which Kakao is marketing heavily as the emotional anchor of the series.
Okay, so that's a direct threat to losing my heart.
It is. But their ultimate trump card, the move that shows they are playing to win every single trophy,
Oh, I knew what you were going to say.
is the announcement of the final OST track.
The lead actor cheat code.
Exactly. The lead actor of the drama, Baeon Woo-suk, is personally singing a song called Parallel.
The lead actor singing the emotional finale song.
Yeah.
I want to deep dive into this for a second because this is just such an industry cheat code.
It's so effective.
When you have the star of the show, the face that millions of people have been staring at and falling in love with for 16 episodes, personally singing the song that plays during the climax of the finale.
It is devastatingly effective.
It collapses the barrier between the fiction of the show and the reality of the music.
It merges the massive fandom of the actor with the fandom of the music.
It is a historical tactic.
Absolutely. We have seen it time and time again, where an actor's OST completely overshadows professional singers simply because the audience's emotional attachment to the actor's face translates directly into streams for their voice.
So from a pure competition standpoint, Kakao's diversified package practically guarantees they will take up 2 or 3 slots on any 5-song shortlist.
Almost undoubtedly.
So we are back to the core dilemma. I am looking at this landscape and I am thinking, how does a standalone ballad from a non-Korean artist cut through the noise of a multi-million-dollar, algorithmically optimized, idol-driven corporate behemoth like Perfect Crown?
If we connect this back to the underlying philosophy of the prestige voting bodies,
Okay.
we have to look at the prestige bar. We have to analyze what the critics actually reward when they are forced to choose between corporate bombast and genuine artistry.
What does the historical precedent tell us?
The landscape analysis points to the critically acclaimed 2025 prestige dramas that set the standard for the upcoming voting cycle.
Shows like Our Unwritten Soul and You and Everything Else.
Yes. Our Unwritten Soul had one of the best soundtracks of the decade.
It featured tracks like Choi Yu-rae's Yellow Spring and 10 Centimeters Hush of Sunset.
And You and Everything Else utilized Paul Kim's Home.
All of those are massive, sweeping, deeply emotional, lyrical ballads.
Exactly. And they dominated the critical conversations and the prestige awards in 2025.
They beat out heavily produced idol tracks.
They did. This proves a vital mechanism in the South Korean award ecosystem.
It is.
No matter how many A-list idols a conglomerate packs into a soundtrack, serious, emotionally resonant ballads still hold the highest intrinsic value for voters who care about the integration of music and narrative storytelling.
Right. A beautifully composed ballad that makes a critic cry in their living room will often defeat a catchy pop song that has 10 million streams.
At least in the eyes of the Baeksang or Mama critics.
So the implication here is that Gwyn does not need to outstream RIIZE to win a prestige award.
Not at all.
She just have to outfield them. She has to be the Paul Kim or the Choi Yu-rae of 2026.
She has to deliver that devastating emotional gut punch that transcends the need for a massive fandom.
And honestly, with Park Sung-il composing the track, she has the exact musical architecture required to do it.
She definitely has the tools.
So we have dissected the global data, we understand the domestic editing hurdles, and we know the corporate competition.
Now for the strategy.
Yes. How do we weaponize this knowledge? What does the Nexus report recommend as the strategic next steps?
The report concludes with a highly specific, 3-pronged action plan for the marketing team, designed to capitalize on the exact anomalies we discussed.
Walk me through the mechanics of the battle plan.
Step 1 is targeted ad spend.
Okay.
The analysts recommend capitalizing immediately on the massive Wave 3 momentum that occurred in late June.
That is Singapore and the Philippines, where she hit number 6 and 26.
Correct. The iron is incredibly hot in those specific geographic zones right now.
So what's the play?
The strategy here is not a broad global ad buy. The label needs to deploy highly targeted, geographically locked retargeting ads.
Right.
They need to push localized playlist inclusions and social media promotions exclusively to IP addresses in Singapore and the Philippines.
The goal is to artificially inject energy into the market to turn those high penetration peaks into sustained Hong Kong-style retention.
Exactly. You have to keep the stadium wave moving before people sit back down.
I love that analogy. Okay, step 2.
Step 2 is community building,
Yeah.
and this is a direct response to the anchor market.
Hong Kong.
Yes. The data proved unequivocally that Hong Kong has a 34-day retention streak. They are the most loyal, reliable daily listeners on the globe for this track.
So the label needs to actively foster and reward that localized fan community.
Because if you ignore the foundation, the whole house collapses.
How do they reward them, practically speaking?
You nurture the soil that is bearing fruit. Arrange a virtual meet and greet exclusively for Hong Kong fans.
Oh, that's smart.
Create localized behind-the-scenes content that acknowledges their specific support. You have to make that demographic feel seen.
Which guarantees their continued retention straight through the voting season.
Exactly.
Acknowledge the people paying the metaphorical mortgage. I love that. And the final step.
Step 3 is reverse engineering. This is the most complex, long-term strategic goal.
Okay, lead on me.
The data scientists want to figure out the exact mechanisms that cause the staggered geographic spikes between Wave 1, Wave 2, and Wave 3 across Southeast Asia.
They want to prove our TikTok algorithm theory.
Exactly. They need to isolate the specific triggers. Was it a specific influencer in Malaysia?
Was it a micro trend on Instagram Reels in Taiwan?
Right. If they can identify the exact catalyst, they can attempt to artificially replicate that success in Western markets.
Wow. If the label can figure out how to manufacture a Wave 4 in Europe or North America using the exact same social contagion mechanics.
Losing My Heart crosses over from being a massive regional hit to an undeniable global phenomenon.
So if you are listening to this, why does any of this matter to you?
Good question.
Why have we spent the last hour dissecting the chart performance of a single K-drama ballad, tracking its movement from a quiet night in Riyadh to a 34-day marathon in Hong Kong?
Because it changes the paradigm.
It matters because this data completely exposes the hidden, decentralized reality of the modern music industry.
It proves that success is no longer a monolith.
Exactly. It is not about a record label paying a radio station to play a song and hoping the entire country likes it simultaneously.
No, those days are over.
It is a localized, highly strategic game of digital chess, fought block by block, algorithm by algorithm.
And it is a game where a passionate fan base in Hong Kong or a sudden organic algorithmic spike in Singapore can generate a raw data footprint that legitimately rivals the multi-million-dollar domestic marketing budgets of a corporate Goliath like Perfect Round.
Cross-border appeal, driven by transparent data, is the great equalizer in modern entertainment.
It really is.
It levels the playing field in a way that was impossible a decade ago. A quiet, melancholic song sung by a Filipina artist for a South Korean television drama can literally take over the world one staggered algorithmic wave at a time.
It's an inspiring reality.
And that brings us to the end of our journey today. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought.
Okay, let's hear it.
We have talked extensively today about how domestic award shows might favor songs that resonated on local Korean television screens due to the editing and the Pavlovian response of the critics.
Right, the kiss in the rain effect.
But looking at the sheer, undeniable scale of the international waves Gwyn Dorado triggered, if a single emotional ballad can cause sequential algorithmic tsunamis across completely different continents based purely on localized digital word of mouth,
Yeah.
are we rapidly approaching an era where a K-drama's true cultural and commercial impact is measured not by its domestic television ratings in Seoul, but by which foreign countries' iTunes chart its soundtrack randomly colonizes next?
That is a massive paradigm shift. It implies that the actual audience for these shows is no longer domestic. It is entirely global.
And the award shows will eventually be forced to reflect that reality or risk complete irrelevance.
It is a fascinating tension.
And it is something you absolutely need to keep in mind as the 2026 award season gets closer. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep a close eye on those charts, watch out for the algorithmic anomalies, and we will see you next time.